Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. This is the podcast show for female entrepreneurs in business. And I'm your host, Sian Kyra, founder of the Female Entrepreneur Collective. I'm a certified business and mindset coach. And I went from being in my overdraft for over a decade to generating over £1 million in online sales just over a few short years. So this is the podcast for you if you want to learn more about scaling your business, starting your business, you want to learn more about mindset and healing in business and spirituality as well. We'll be here every week delivering those conversations for you. And I just want to say, welcome to the show. Hi, everyone. So my next guest today is an incredible human being. She's a TED speaker, she's a best-selling author, she's an incredible wellness coach, and she even was awarded an MBE by the Queen. She also has an incredible community on Instagram of over 180,000, and it's just amazing to see her journey over the last few years. So welcome, Lavina. It's so wonderful to have you here.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
I'm honestly so excited to have you here.
So sweet.
And I've been following your journey for quite some time. And honestly, it's been so inspirational. And obviously before this podcast, I was researching you, reading your bio, and I just wanted to share some of the accomplishments that you've had with your brand, which is just so incredible and so inspiring. So obviously you were awarded an MBE for services to health and fitness during COVID-19. You're the best-selling author of The Feel Good Fix, which hit #1 across multiple Amazon categories. You're obviously a global menopause and wellness advocate, and you've obviously spoken at, major corporations, including Google. You've been to Houses of Parliament, and, you've built this incredible community now of like over 180,000 followers on Instagram. And of course, being a South Asian woman in her 40s. And I think that's just so amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. My gosh. Yeah, it's a bit surreal when you read them all out.
Yeah, and that's just the highlights. There were many, many more. So obviously you made a change from corporate project manager back in 2008, right? So just take us a little bit back to the start of the journey and how this all started.
Yeah, as in I gave up my career 2008. My youngest is now 17. I got 3 amazing boys. I used to love the corporate world. In fact, where we're recording, I used to work around the corner, one of my first jobs.
Oh, wow.
And that was for a big .com, and BP was actually their client. So I became a global project manager very early on because I had some amazing experience in the .com industry after I graduated. So the career was pretty fast paced and I absolutely loved it. And then I did actually fight for a job share. This is back, 20 some years ago when things like flexible working didn't really exist. Yeah. And I had a really supportive, actually South Asian boss who I did speak to a few weeks ago. And I said, Pank, his name's Pankaj. I was like, I actually talk about you in so many interviews and podcasts as being an ally and a champion to actually get flexible working in place for me, because it was quite unknown even in a company like BP. And I fought for a job share with his help. And I was doing 5 days in 3, it was trying to make it work. I was doing a lot of global travel. I had teams onshore, offshore, there's a lot of responsibility. And then when I had my youngest, I was like, okay, I'm going to just give it up and focus on being mum, which I have no regrets because I actually got a really good promotion to quite a senior level before I left. So I was like, I got to where I wanted. And then I spent about a decade just being mum and getting the boys prepped for their senior schools, my older 2. I was just running around, doing all their activities, and I was living in a joint family. Wow. So yeah, there were 9 of us in the house. And, I love cooking. My mum's a cookery writer. She's got 2 books and she's a teacher. So I was just embracing, home life, being a housewife, but being part of a big family. I was from quite a small family and then into the big family. And I was never into exercise. Literally, that's the one thing I like to point out is that I never grew up enjoying exercise. In fact, I used to bunk off most of the classes at school wherever I could. So where, if you think about how surreal it is for me to now be in the fitness space and in wellness, and it was really because of lack of education and awareness, like as we grew up, I didn't really understand the importance to our health. And after my youngest, I had probably put on a lot of weight. A lot of Indians were like, oh, you're happily married, but I was just starting to feel like, oh my gosh, like, you just kind of lose a bit of confidence, self-esteem, nothing was fitting. Yeah. And I started thinking about my health. I also had typed up my mum's book. It was called Feel Good with Food, which is where Feel Good with Lavina, just randomly, I picked an Instagram handle thinking I'm going to just do something like mum and pick that name. But when I typed her book, it was all about the science of food and nutrition and things that I'd never learned about. She was a biological scientist. She'd researched everything about why we eat, really an eye-opener for me. And I almost kind of just thought, look, I've got to do something about my health. So I joined the gym locally, like a lot of mums do. I've just drop off, when my youngest was in education, I'd just go straight to the gym. And I would just try lots of different classes. And then I'd have lots of coffee mornings and just sit and chat, and, like that social connection with the mums. But I wasn't really getting anywhere in terms of my weight. I nearly double my size. Wow. But it was more, I think, gosh, I would have been on the road to type 2 diabetes for sure, because it's rife in my own family, in our communities. Yeah. And it was when I fell in love with strength training. So when I got myself a PT, that's when I really started seeing results. Physically, yes, which obviously made me feel better, but it was more mentally that was just transformational, and just dealing with, life's issues and things that go on behind closed doors. It was just how exercise, especially when I was lifting heavy weights, I would just zone out. It would get me in that flow state. And I was like, this is so powerful. I want to learn about it. And I sat these courses at home, never thinking I'd sit exams again. I was literally doing biology, A-level, with my middle son trying to teach me he'd just done GCSE biology. And I was like, I'm totally lost, how the diaphragm and the heart works and all of this. And I just did it in the evenings without telling anyone apart from the kids. I'd put them to sleep, and I just thought I'd just learn about it because I was fascinated by what it had done to me. Never thinking it would be a career. And here we are. And how
that is just, oh my God, there's just so much to unpack there. There's just so much to go into. So first of all, I think I didn't realize you were I hate using the word just a mum, because I feel like that's really degrading, because no one's just a mum.
The hardest job in the world. Yeah, exactly.
So you had those 10 years, was it a decade out then?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm trying to do the maths now. So I'm 47. Yeah, pretty much. I had a decade out, and I actually went back to art. That's what I wanted to study. I wanted to go to actually do that as a career at the age of 18. I'd done art A-level, and obviously being Indian, my parents were like, God, you're not a lawyer, accountant, doctor, pharmacist. Keep art as a hobby, which is my mum's really greatest advice. And she did believe that, because she's carried that on, that passion. We always go to galleries. We always think about art a lot. But I studied management at UMass. But yeah, so I dabbled a little bit in those 10 years. When I went part-time, I did something for myself, as well as the sort of gym and the exercise. I went back to art classes, and that was really therapeutic. But yeah, no, it'd been a full decade of, I think it's the best investment. I was very lucky that I didn't have to work, right? Yeah. My husband had given me that choice, and it wasn't stay at home like a traditional Indian housewife, right? Like our parents probably had to go through. I had a very supportive family. My father-in-law, bless him, who passed away from a brain tumor, 12 years ago, who was the closest to me in the whole family. Now, obviously, my mother-in-law and me are so close. We do the free workouts. We just done one this morning every week. We've carried that on for nearly 5 years. But my father-in-law was instrumental. He'd be the one that would drop me before to the station at work. He'd go for walks with me. They encouraged me to go and do the art classes. There was never any restriction. And my husband's always been very supportive, but there was no oh, you've got to work kind of thing. So I was in a blessed position that way. But yeah, it's bizarre, right? That you just it's a best investment in the sense that I wanted to get my kids in the right schools. I really that's what I've grown up with, that ethos that my parents instilled in me. It was always really focus on your education, because that's, something you can fall back on always, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted to instill that in my boys. So I was really I'm so proud of, all of them. They're very different, but I made a point to kind of really invest in their schooling and play an active role. I used to volunteer at the schools, and I'd be one of those mums that wanted to do all the school trips and cause library duty. I was a library monitor and reading with the little kids. And yeah, it was a lovely decade. But little did I know what was around the corner.
And I think that's so interesting, because I think a lot of people now, sometimes I work with clients, when I'm coaching them on their mindset or their business, and they say, oh, but I'm not in my 20s, I can't make my business work or my brand work, or my 30s. I think because there's been this rise on Instagram of really young founders, business women in their literally now early 20s, crushing it. We didn't have those opportunities. Obviously, I'm in my 30s still, but when I was in my 20s, there was no YouTube, there was no Instagram, there was no Facebook, actually. There's nothing. Yeah. And I think so many older women, I'm saying that, with inverted commas, they're like, oh, I've kind of missed the boat. It's too late. My career is it's too late to get started now. What would you say to that? Because obviously you're 47 now, and it sounds like because you started your brand back, was it 2019, I think?
Yeah, I just qualified about 6 years ago.
So you would have been in your 40s then, right? So what would you like to say around that?
I'll look straight down the camera. Anyone watching, listening, if you're thinking about doing something, if I can do it, you could do it. And age is just a number. It is seriously never too late. I truly believe that. I do a lot of talks, obviously I love going to workplaces with a completely different hat on and getting people exercise, snacking, moving, or talking about menopause or health. But a lot of the talks I'm doing now is around this journey, and especially in the business space, I feel there's a whole rise. I hope to encourage, especially South Asian women, that if you have given up your roles, your jobs or your passion for whatever reason, whether you're a mum or not, but some people are in jobs that are unfulfilling, right? Midlife is the perfect time to reinvent your career. And I truly believe that, if I can do it and I found this passion, and I just feel like it's my purpose now, right? I'm living and breathing. You see, I'm doing crazy things everywhere, getting people squatting in Parliament, outside Downing Street. I've got no Sharam, right? I just want to get movement normalized. I want to provide these free tools to everyone. And I think you just have to find that sort of self-belief, that confidence that a lot of women, we do lose. My perimenopause, just to keep it brief, was a real transition, but it's now something that I talk about openly to help women to understand that, yes, I've had challenges as well, everything from anxiety to the lack of sleep, to the brain fog, which is really worrying when you're public speaking or if you're on TV, radio, lives on Instagram and things like that. I was doing multiple times a day. There's a toolkit that I just want everyone to have, and it's all for free and it's all backed by science. And obviously I've written a book about it. It's everything I promote on social media, on all these different platforms. It's what I do in talks and, go into community centers, and I've done thousands of community. And that I'm Jain, so I don't know if you know about Jainism.
Yes.
And it's a big community, but growing up, it was never something that I distinguished at school or anything. I never told anyone I was Jain. I just embraced Hinduism because that's what was kind of more well known. And now I make a point to say that I'm Jain, because I'd love to shine a light on my community. And I love the fact that it's a way of life and it's all about non-harm and it's non-violence. And, there's a lot of beautiful concepts that arise from Buddhism, where Jainism also originated from. But you'll see, I also work with every community I can. So from the pandemic, I was look, I've got this idea. I was calling people saying, I've started streaming live on, my small Instagram. And I know you guys are doing Zoom and I might not be part of your community, but I had so many different communities. So my husband's like the Navnat community, also Jane. Then I contacted the Luana community, the Darji community. I did Ramadan workouts. For me, I wanted to get everyone involved. Like I just feel it doesn't have to, like there's so many different communities in the South Asian that I always say, even to like media and brands, I'm like, representation is so important, but don't just get someone brown, like then you've ticked the box. We're all very different. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is like I want to make it inclusive, right? So it's been great because so many other communities I never thought I would reach, they've really welcomed me in, which has been lovely. So I thank them all because they've all been part of the journey. And there's a whole list, like the One Jane community. There's so many different ones I work for. I'm sorry if I've missed anyone. But yeah, it's been wonderful.
If you found value in this episode, then please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. We want to have incredible conversations every week with like-minded women in business and CEOs, and your support honestly means the world to me. So the more you can share this and subscribe to our channel, the more impact we can have for all of us together, and together we rise.
Yeah. And I really, oh my God, that I really resonate with what you shared there. And I think we do have to get out of this mindset that like we're not too old to start, no one's ever too old. And I think that actually, I feel like there's going to be this rise of, female entrepreneurs, in their 30s and 40s, because that is the best time for reinvention. And that is also the best time to find out, you've lived enough life.
I was just going to say experience, the wisdom, like the life experience is so valuable.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a turning point as well in your 40s. Like now my kids are a little bit older and they're starting to do their own thing. It's like, what am I going to do? I want to find a purpose, and I want to, like, obviously giving back, the charity work that I do with all these multiple charities. That is probably the most rewarding part. I never thought of it as a business. I just thought of it as, and it's still that, how many people can I help? Like I just interrupted this old couple on the train today and just got talking to them because they were like amazing. They must have like been in their 80s. With a walking stick, still carrying their shopping. It's such a cute couple. And I was like, just very quickly, can I give you my YouTube channel if you want to join my workouts? They're all for free. It's always been like, how many people can I help? I think that was the thing that I never imagined this as a business. Like obviously now, I'm a CEO, I'm a founder, I'm like director, whatever you want to call it, of Feel Good with Lavina. But it started off as a passion. So I think if you're thinking about it, think about, something that really is meaningful to you, right? And something that has turned out to be a business, but it's something that I just love, right? It doesn't feel like work. That's the beauty of it. You always hear people say, oh, I love what I do and it doesn't feel like work. And I often do those hashtags, love what you do, but it's so true. Like I feel very blessed and grateful that I'm doing something so enjoyable to me. But that's so different, right, for everyone. But I think that life experience is so valuable.
Important. Yeah. And I completely agree. I think it's so important to love what you do because otherwise, then what, I just feel like, what's the point? And, we only get this one life.
I was just going to say, you start reevaluating how long you've got left.
I don't know. Like,
and life is so short. You hear about so many young people having gosh, like the worst, health conditions it's just been like such bad news. I keep hearing all the time with people that I always say life is so short. Like you see me, I'm like vibrant, I'm out there. I've written a lot about this in my book as well, like about how, I've shared like my personal sort of, you sort of start thinking, okay, not that I don't give a crap about anything, but I want women, especially in our communities, to prioritize themselves because it's always about giving to others, right? And I'm like that. I'm a giver as well. Like I want everyone around me to feel like, like I'm doing stuff for them. It's like a validation, right? In our community, it's just cultural. But what I want women to realize is that, yes, like, okay, we do have, our in-laws, our aging parents, our kids, like whatever you've got around you, there's lots of demands, but you've got to prioritize your own health. Like if we don't have our health and our strength, That's, if you invest in that, that's what's going to help you provide for everyone for longer. And I think also the disease risk, like the research I did, I did this Get UK Asians Fit campaign early on before the pandemic. When I was on Sky News, I've just been found with my exercise snacking advent calendar, which was surreal in 2019 in that Christmas. And then I was on various times, and then I raised this campaign. I was like, once I got that sort of national, international exposure, I was like, okay, forget, I'm just going to go for it. But what was scary is the rise in things like obviously type 2 pre-diabetes, especially in our communities. I was always quoting 6 times more likely than the average white person. I think it's probably worse now with even younger people, with ultra processed foods, with the lack of we're just sitting for too long, our sedentary lifestyles, a lack of physical activity, like so many things, technology, it's really played its part. So that scares me. But we know that type 2 diabetes and pre-diabetes is reversible through lifestyle changes. And I'm an ambassador for Diabetes UK now. From everything to like bone health, muscle health, dementia, Alzheimer's, things that our communities don't talk about openly. And I'm obviously sharing a lot on social media as an ambassador now for Alzheimer's Society. But because I saw my own nanny, my grandmother, she had Alzheimer's for a decade. And the last decade of her life, it was like heartbreaking. Our family didn't understand it. They didn't know what to do. You don't know what support to, what care to give. It's just heartbreaking, like when I think back of it. And it's awareness, right? It's about health, really. And health is, I think, our biggest investment.
It's our biggest foundation as well, isn't it? If the foundation, which is health, is rocky and you can't build, which is so important for entrepreneurship as well, and being a business owner. So going back to 2019, I know when people start their brands or their businesses, they feel very nervous. They take it a little bit slow. It sounds like you were the complete opposite, which would explain a lot of things. So how did you have the confidence to really, because it sounds like you just went for it, and obviously it was the year before COVID, when you started, because you've built your brand like everyone from scratch, what was the kind of mindset shift you had, and how did it all just start, I guess?
Do I have to just thank everyone that may have messaged me, a DM or a feedback. If you've met me in person, you just said something my grandmother or my mum's using your workouts, or I'm using your exercise snacks, or whatever it was, that just gave me that motivation to just go for it. And that is one of my phrases, it's never too late, go for it. I always say, I didn't really feel hesitant, but I also know how daunting social media can be for people, and how you'll see now I share pretty much everything I do. On Instagram, it's become second nature, just talking to the camera, having the phone there, and it's become part of my life. But women often stop me, especially women, and in our communities as well. They sort of say, how am I supposed to start? And I'm like, please don't perfect it. For me, the biggest tip that I think has worked for me is I just keep it very real, and it's very raw. It's unedited. I don't have a team. I don't have a PA. I don't have a management. I don't have, an agent. I don't have anyone. Someone asked me, do you have someone following you around, filming you? And I was like, oh my God, I wish I had a whole team. That would be the dream one day. But no, it's just me randomly asking people, in wherever I am, an event or whatever, can you just quickly take a quick clip with my phone? Or it's just me with a little tripod, the workouts I do on YouTube every Friday with my mother-in-law is literally the most basic setup. I've had no time to improve things, if people would probably come in and think, those young influencers probably think, oh my God, what is she doing? But I think in a way being relatable has been to my advantage, right? Because I just feel I'm just keeping it real. I'd say I've been winging it, to be honest. There's not been a strategy, but there's been a lot of feedback that has fueled me to continue. It's just that one message a day that usually I get from somewhere. It could be WhatsApp, or if it's DMs, I'm very terrible on DMs, but a comment, I try and address all my comments you'll see on Instagram. It has killed me sometimes, but I think building that community has been important, like having me answer the DMs, like to.
Yes.
So it's that personal interaction. It's not just like a bot, that's giving the standard thing. When I know it's someone that I know, I want to like have that personal relationship. So it's that connection as a social connection is like the bit in the book, even though it's all a lot on exercise snacking and mental health snacks. There's a whole section on like feel good for life, and it's sleep, nutrition, stress management, but social connection I've written in depth about. And it's the one thing that I researched for a happy, healthy life. It's the most important thing.
Yes.
But then nowadays, it's like social media is obviously like a huge part of our lives. And then there's nothing obviously that beats face-to-face connection. But it's striking that balance, right? So I do feel close to my community. I guess the message is if you're thinking about doing just even an Instagram story or a post, just go for it. Don't overthink it. Don't try and get the best angle. Don't try and, use the best filter. I think the audience, for me anyway, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that's what's worked for me, right? I just it's weird I've got that confidence because I was never going to be camera facing, right?
I think I love that so much because I think with a lot now with everything, with the rise of Instagram, and there's so many apps and so many different things that are working. I was reading something this morning from the head of Instagram, like obviously talking to camera reels are really working now. Carousels are back. Views are more important than shares or saves. Like there's just so much and it constantly changes. And actually, I was experimenting a couple of weeks ago with my Instagram content, and I actually built my business up back in the day, like around 2018, 2019 on Facebook Live. So I used to just have a Facebook group. Used to just go live in face. It was so easy.
I did
and
200 workouts on Facebook Live. They're about to take them all off now.
Yeah. And just chatting away. And I thought, I'm going to just take that piece of content that I used to do and I'm just going to do it on Instagram. I didn't edit it. I had to get that content up before I went on holiday.
Good.
And it's had thousands of views.
Wow,
and it's
so
just
good.
going back to the thing that you like. Sometimes it's about just going back to what works rather than like overthinking it and being like, oh, I need to get this carousel perfect. And I think with Instagram recently, it's become very curated. And I think a lot of people feel that pressure of it being very curated and very, very branded very well. But actually sometimes, like you said, you just go back to basics and just do, you don't even need...
no strategy. I don't follow the algorithm. I hate to say, like what you're telling me now, I'm thinking, what, really? Like, it's not about saves and shares. I'm like, oh, this is like a whole new world. Like because I just don't have the time.
Yes.
Like I'm trying to keep a balance between, this all taking over my life, but having the balance with family, friends, the kids, like my own sanity. So I've had to do social media snacking, like literally where I have to like switch off, I'm, about to go on holiday and I'm going to try and be disciplined and just have like a little window a day because that's like a bit of a digi detox rather than just you checking constantly, right? People wake up and you're just on these devices all the time.
Yeah.
And the algorithm changes so often that would probably drive me mad just trying to keep up with it. But yeah, it's interesting, right? Some of the most like, maybe the most genuine, that video could have been like from your roots, your passion, like when it all started. If that does well, it's very interesting what is out there. Like I've just started on TikTok. I haven't even told anyone, but only because my youngest son, it's like his main audience, right? And so he was like, Mum, I don't want you on TikTok all these years. And I guess with that, I'm doing a completely different style where I am talking to the camera. I'm doing more like educational pieces. But I'm not sticking to the 3 seconds, like this scroll, because I've got lots to say. And it may not work, but I feel like even if, like, again, if it just helps one person, for me, the other thing that's really important, I've told so many people in this same space as me, it's not about the followers for me. Like, yes, it's been very useful to know that I'm getting that reach, and it's been a driving factor in the sense that I'm glad, right? Like I just want to help as many people as possible. And it probably helped with publishing a book. A lot of people ask me and I'm like, okay, they probably did look at the followers, right? That's how publishing industry is a whole new industry. It does help with that kind of thing because they want you to be able to obviously sell the book and so on. But for me personally, it's never been about the followers. And those numbers just go up and down. I don't even look at them. When people ask me for insights and things, I'm like, gosh, like when I look at it first time, it's like your weight, right? I always say to women, don't weigh yourselves every day because you're just going to fluctuate all the time, especially as, you approach perimenopause, menopause, all of that. Like it can be detrimental to your mental health. Like the weight on the scale, the sort of the numbers on social media and all of that is probably something that I've not analyzed and I've just let it organically grow.
I love that so much, Lavina, because I think that especially nowadays, like people get really obsessed with follower numbers. And I do listen to some people and I'm like, wow, this sounds like it's your life, and that's scary. And especially for me, like, people always say, I've got just about to hit 10,000 followers. So I've got a smallish community on Instagram. Of course, it's amazing. And that's like 10,000 people.
That's
and
huge.
People always say to me, like, I remember a couple of years ago, like last year when we did our event, we had 200 people booked on to the event. I had sold 100 tickets just off my Instagram before any kind of speaker was announced. And some people are like, oh, but like you've only got this, I can't believe people would say this, but you've only got this many followers. How have you sold your event? And that's the other thing is why it's so important is that like your audience have to be engaged.
I was going to say the genuine followers, right? The people that really...
And that runs your business as well, like in a sense that, we're not here to be like, oh my God, like everyone has to be a client because they're never going to be. People are just going to be in your community and that's perfect. Yeah. But I think so many people just get so hung up, bogged down with the followers, and that shouldn't matter.
No, I think like you've got to, like what is your mission? I always think like even in the book when it comes to like lifestyle changes, movement, exercise, I always say, what is your why? Like you've got to think, especially with the sort of business mind. And I do believe in like, the only thing I will really say, about sort of business and goals is that obviously when I got my MBA, which is very surreal still, and it's very early on, that obviously gave me a sort of another boost of like, okay, wow, like I can make a real impact on the world. And I started journaling and I started writing down like how I used to as a project manager. And this is what I talk, teach in my workshops, like smart goal setting. And I went back to that sort of technique, and it's also a section in my book, but journaling has a lot of science and power behind it. And so then I started writing these like smart goals down, and I've continued that. And it's been such a lovely process to see from nothing how if you really direct your behaviors, your path, your mission, so many incredible goals have like come true. And it's just like, it's surreal. It's like, oh my God, how did that happen? And I like reflecting, and you've got to have that gratitude and all of that. But it's a bit of manifestation, but with obviously so much hard work behind the scenes. Like there's been nights, with technology where even in the beginning in the pandemic, I was like, okay, I'm going to do, and this is still out in the media. I saw it recently, a 28-day plan, of all the lives that I did. Because we were doing exercise snacks in the daytime, my husband and youngest son. Then we did an evening workout with them both. Then I did the streaming with my mother-in-law, not just on my community, but like a lot on Facebook as well. Like there was networks like Professional Asian, Recommend Asian. Like I was just going on lots of different things. But yeah, it's like, I do think the hard work is obviously behind the scenes. There were nights where I was battling with technology, just trying to get one video up and like, everything was against me. I'd be like 2, 3 in the morning, but you kind of persevere, right? Because you have so much belief in like what you want to get out. It's hard. There's a lot of grit. And I think also you've got to be what's the word? Like probably a little bit hard. Like I'm not worrying too much about what people think, right? Yeah. Which comes with age and experience, I guess. You've got to be strong because anyone on social media can say anything. And then you've also got to understand, which is what I try and say now, is that although you see those pretty pictures and Lavina just bouncing around and colorful and like she's going mad and she's like socializing with all these incredible like celebs and whoever, everyone's got so much stuff that's been happening behind closed doors, even me, like there's been challenges and battles that even though I share 99%, there's always those few things that you either protecting your family or you just haven't shared publicly. And I want people to know that there has been those hard times, right? But this for me, because I love it so much, has been like the savior through those hard times. That's what's literally got me out of bed. And I think, okay, no, I am going to continue on this mission. Sorry, it's a bit deep.
I love that so much. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think there's so much I want to talk into there. I think first of all, like the journaling. So I'm a massive advocate for journaling. So I used to be someone, you probably don't know too much about me, Lavina, but I used to be someone who was very negative, gossipy, just like a really terrible mindset. I've shared this really openly with my community.
It's good you're sharing this.
Yeah, I used to be completely, I was in my overdraft for like over a decade. I used to be completely broke. And then I basically like changed everything. Probably things started to change like around 2016 when I started, because I used to have an Asian wedding planning business. So I was a luxury Asian wedding planner. And in 2016, when there wasn't that much, there wasn't Instagram selling, it was just Facebook. There was no video.
Yeah.
And within 18 months, I launched within 18 months with my wedding planning business, I started doing destination wedding.
Wow.
I was on the BBC Breakfast Show. I was getting like a lot of global media. And one of the things that I'm a huge advocate for was actually is journaling, because I think with the power of journaling is it's like bringing it to the forefront of your mind.
I'm going to read you something. Yeah, go on, tell me what you think.
Yeah,
a bit of the science.
Yeah, and I think it's because you're keeping it at the forefront of your mind, and it connects with your subconscious mind.
Yeah,
and your subconscious mind is responsible for 95% of your reality. And I think, what you focus on grows, right? So if you're journaling every day, like, I live in this like beautiful Oxfordshire house now. I was journaling for about 2 years on it. Right? 2 years. Wow. I live in my dream Oxfordshire house. I live in my dream Oxford. And the first time we were going to buy it, the property fell through and we were like gutted. But then like about maybe like a year and a half later, for some people that's such a long time, we found like the perfect house. Wow. It wasn't too much more expensive and we got way more space. So I'm a massive advocate for journaling.
Oh, amazing. I mean, like, well done you, especially sharing yours. So I'm finding, so I've got like, I don't know, like the snacks in my book, but there's a feel good mentally section, and all of it has got, things like everything from breathing to nature to journaling. That. Even like a 3 goals for the day snack, that's just something you can do really simple when you've got that overwhelming list of things to do, to a longer, like writing your worries away, like literally before bed, when you can't sleep. But the science is so incredible. Like I've got a 10-minute one, and this is like a longer invitation. It says to write your heart out about your deepest emotions or difficult experiences. Expressive writing is healing and can help release, restore, repair, and renew your mind. And it gives you like the science, but it's just so amazing. When I was kind of researching all of this, I mean, I could read you a little bit here, but it's with journaling, I'm saying like I used to write a diary as a teenager. And I'm saying to everyone, I'd urge you to restart, because it will help you deal with any overwhelming feelings, especially if you struggle with stress, depression, or anxiety, which is so common these days. And it will help you gain control of your emotions and improve your mental health. It can also help you recognize triggers and learn better ways to deal with them. And it provides an opportunity for positive self-talk and allows you to simply write your worries away. It's also a great form of self-love to celebrate your wins in your private journal. And the physical act of writing, which is so important, engages the brain and activates the prefrontal cortex, which regulates our response to stressful situations. So I could go on, but it's just so powerful putting that pen to paper. So if anyone like listening hasn't tried journaling, we're both testament to it.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's life-changing.
Yeah, so good.
And what about, so obviously you have actually, you've worked with celebrities, obviously, you've been affiliated with people like Lavina McCall, and you've done loads of talks at like big organizations like Google, you've been to Houses of Parliament, obviously you've got an MBE. Do you ever get imposter syndrome?
I was talking about this recently. So I used to feel like, what am I doing in these like audiences? Before I talk, that's why I use some of like my breathing techniques. I know I can calm the body, reset my nervous system in a minute. So before I do anything, I always do those things. And it's really weird. Even you get the nerves and you kind of feel like, okay, what are you doing in these audiences? It's like really pinch me moments. And then when I have to do my bit, whether it's a talk or, an exercise snack or whatever it is, a full workshop, it's almost like someone from above, like a force from above just takes over. And it just literally, like, touch wood to date, it's been very natural, right? I just kind of go in the flow of things. I was talking about imposter syndrome recently. Like, I think everyone starts off having that. But now I'm at that point where you see, like, I've just celebrated the menopause. I'm like breaking all these taboos. I'm trying to think of things that I hope kind of lifts women and brings them together, and that we stop the silence and start talking and normalizing these things. But it's that point where now I'm just like, I've just got to go for it. Like, I don't need to worry about what other people are thinking. Have that self-belief, have that self-confidence. And no, I don't feel it now. But obviously, I think at the beginning, everyone does a little bit, right? It's just like having nerves before going on TV or whatever. But then that is also your body's natural stress response, right? You're going to get a little bit jittery and like a little bit nervous about things. But no, I think it's definitely kind of not there anymore. I haven't got any time for that anymore.
My business, the Female Entrepreneur Collective, is so much more than a business. It's a community of like-minded women just like you. And when I started my business all those years ago, I really struggled unnecessarily in the beginning stages of my business. I struggled with my mindset, I struggled with content and just self-belief. That's when I decided to certify as a business and mindset coach. And now we offer the most incredible mastermind for ambitious female entrepreneurs just like you. This is the perfect blend of mindset meets marketing meets content to help you step into your potential and reach your next level in business. So doors are actually open to my Rebirth Mastermind right now, and we have already got incredible women enrolled in it just like you. We would absolutely love to have you. You can find more information in the show notes, or you can just drop me a DM on Instagram. I'm on Asian_female_entrepreneur. We'd love to support you in your business and mindset journey, and let's rise together.
I love that so much. And I love it that you had a menopause party. Yeah. And it's really interesting that you say that, because I met up with one of my best friends a few weeks ago. I've known her for like 20 years. And she was saying, she's in her 30s as well. We're approaching our 40s. And she said to me, it was something that was really sad. And I reflected on it afterwards. And she was like, just like as an older woman, I feel like I'm becoming really insignificant.
Oh my God, no.
And I just, at the time, I was like, that's fine, but don't say that. That's not true.
Yes.
But then afterwards, I was thinking about it, because I think with women, there's so much pressure, especially like in this day and age of social media, to like look good. And obviously with you, it's incredible because you're a wellness and fitness coach, and
that I'm not like out there with my six
exactly
or like
in your bikini.
I'm just not that. And it's really weird. Like when the images go out, obviously, they're probably still on my very dated website, but those were the images I was known for when I'd first qualified, ripped like six pack. I've written in the book about how in midlife, especially menopause, it's all about nourishing our bodies. Like I totally believe in not aiming for the six pack, because it can be detrimental to women's mental health. Just like I was saying about, weighing yourself every day, like your hormones are fluctuating constantly. I'm very like, I just want to be relatable, right?
Yeah.
So I've been honest, like I've experienced the weight gain, but for me, it's not about how I look. My motto is exercise for sanity, not vanity. Yes. Okay. I like, like being in these lovely bright pink outfits and all of that. And I like to be vibrant and colorful, because I especially like to your friend as well. That saddens me, right? That they're feeling, oh my gosh, I'm feeling old. And I want a reframe on what that postmenopausal woman is. I'm postmenopausal now, but we used to always think like that's the old person at home that's frail, that's probably not able to do things in life. Whereas I feel like, God, this is like where I'm just getting started.
Yeah.
And that, once my kids are all out of the house and stuff, and I'll have hopefully a bit more time, but obviously I've got aging parents. Like, there's all different challenges in life. But while I've got the energy, I'm just riding with it, right? Because who knows what's going to happen tomorrow. But I want to reframe, like, what is midlife? It is not that old person. That's why I brought together so many amazing women that are doing well in midlife and beyond. I want the younger women to not have that fear of what's my body going to go through in perimenopause? Because yes, there is 40 plus symptoms, but we're all going to go through it very differently. And I've experienced symptoms, but I'm thriving, right? So if I can get through it, and if you have access to this toolkit of everything we talked about, from exercise to sleeping well, to eating well, to the breathing, the journaling, like all these different tools that could work for you. It's not going to necessarily be the same path as mine, but there's, like 100 tools I could say that are science-backed that women can pick and choose from. I want you to know that you can get through this and you can thrive. It's not just about surviving. It's literally, hopefully, doing more in midlife. Women are living longer, right? These days. We've got a lot of years ahead of us. And what can you do that's going to really give you that passion and purpose?
I love that so much. I think it's so important. A lot of women who listen to this podcast are in their 30s and 40s and 50s, and some are in their 20s as well, which is amazing.
Good. But start strength training. Whoever's listening, especially the young ones.
And I just think we shouldn't be fearful of aging, and we shouldn't think that, just because I'm aging means there's less opportunities. I've got less of a business. I'm not as beautiful enough. With age comes wisdom and experience. And that is just so important. I was really sad what my friend said. So I'm definitely going to reflect back to her.
Yeah.
So in terms of, obviously you've had like so much of your movement has been kind of like on a national level and a global level been recognized and trusted by brands like, the NHS and Google and things like that. Have you been quite strategic in doing that, or has it really just been, I think sometimes when for me, for example, when I look at my opportunities, it's not that I've been like super, super, super strategic, but they've just come because I've put in the effort in other areas.
Totally.
So do you feel like that's the case with you?
Yes, I've not been strategic. I'm going against all like the business planning, like, I put those goals down of things like, okay, I wanted to write a book only because my mum had the book and I used to just give her book to everyone I met as her legacy. And I thought, God, I've got like all these posts everywhere. I want this information accessible to the world. A book is a great medium, but I put that goal down very early. I had like goals to do podcasts, more TV, more radio, or like travel the world. I went to Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and I was probably the first woman in that menopause space from the UK to actually go, and especially as a South Asian woman, right, to go and travel and actually be brave, I guess, in a sense, in a new market and talk about the menopause. And I always talk about my own journey, like to make it relatable. And it was like, it's surreal, those opportunities. I haven't been strategic, but I think they've come, and I have been strategic in the sense I only do things that really align with my values. So I'm very blessed, to have lots of things coming to me, especially at the moment, especially in the space that I'm in. But I've said no to a lot of things. And I think that's, a position I never thought I'd be in, because at the beginning, I literally did so much for free. Yeah, I've done I do most of my stuff is for free. Like, yes, I've got a business, but building that profile, that recognition, like it's just been from, like doing talks, doing events, like podcasts, radio, whatever I could get any exposure to, I kind of said yes at the beginning. So you've got to kind of build it up. And then now I'm in a position where obviously things are coming my way, but I will really, hand on heart, only share things or promote things that I really believe in. Like, you've got to, I think, stick to your values, especially when things start with the world. There is a lot of opportunity on social media. I could be doing ads and collabs and things like every other day, but you probably see I don't do many brands. The workplaces has been like a goal of mine because I love going back in with a different hat on. Like, I was in that corporate world But I know the challenges that women are going through. I know how many women are leaving the workplace in midlife because of menopause symptoms, or I know how detrimental it is that we're sitting 10 hours a day. You know, I want us to have happy, healthy workplaces. And I wish I had, in a way, more bandwidth that I could target. So I probably do need to have a team. I do need to find, and like, that's one thing I hopefully, when I have a bit of time, a breather, if I can find someone that really I can work with to give me a little bit of breathing space so I can get into more organizations, because it is just me, right? So it's like, you know, opportunities like this are great, because thank you for having me on, because maybe someone will hear and think, okay, I want to get Lavina in to talk to my workplace. But I think always listen to your gut and stick to your values. That's probably the most important thing that I've done.
Yeah, I love that, Lavina. And I think what you said there was so interesting, because I think there's definitely a time and place. And I always say to my clients as well, you know, for free work and for paid work. And I think sometimes people are literally like, you know, I see this with a lot, it just in general in the space, like, oh, I'm not doing that because it's for free. I'm not going to do that because, and I think sometimes, you know, it really depends on everyone's situation, of course, and like what you're building. But sometimes you just do have to do things for free. Like, that's how it works, you know? And I think so many people are like, no, I'm not going to do this because I'm not getting paid. But it sounds like, you know, when you started your journey, actually that was the way in.
I just embraced every opportunity that I could, right? Like, thinking back, this is quite interesting coming on this, because I'm reflecting now at like the amount of times I've done things for free. Now, I obviously know as well, you've become a bit more savvy.
Yes.
Where I have been slightly burnt, and I haven't talked about this publicly, where I've been on a panel and I have had a counterpart getting paid and I wasn't paid. And then I've learned from that. So you do start learning the way of the world. But for sure, I've had to do tons for free. Like, you know, the charity work I do, that's a different whole area. That's just like me. I want to give back and I want to help. That area is like totally separate. But even in the workspace, I think when you're starting off, you've got to try and just like get yourself out there, right? Now, yeah, things change a bit. And like, it's interesting, as you said, like younger people, right? Where this will be their sole business, like being an influencer online, and the amount of opportunity there is out there. But stay true to yourself. That's like so important, I think.
100%. And obviously you've got 3 children. And I know this will be a huge question that everyone will be thinking. How do I do it? How do you do it? And how are you, and I don't like the word balance. I don't really believe in that word. I think it's more of a blend. But any tips for anyone that maybe has young families, or, you know, maybe in that in between stage, you know, still got young kids, but maybe they're not at secondary or not out of the house yet.
Hard. It is really hard. I was blessed, obviously, I've got great family around me. So support, always ask for help. I have a cleaner. Oh my gosh, you know, I should just thank her publicly. I literally wouldn't be able to cope. The reason I actually got her was because we've got a dog now in the pandemic, and my youngest got his way. We were never planning on having a dog. But it was like having another baby. I mean, we're obsessed with him, Bailey. And we've had him since the pandemic. It was the same time as when I kicked off the whole new PT career. I had start of my perimenopause. Like, I'm lucky I have a cleaner that the house, I've had to let go. I used to be really OCD about things. Like when I had all that time before, and I'd go home and clean cupboards and all of that. And I actually realized it was a kind of turning point in my head that are my kids and my husband going to notice when I go in and I refold all those T-shirts that they've just pulled out and pick up everything from their bedroom floors and like tidy up every day. And then when I stopped doing that, because my work took over, actually they didn't even realize. I don't know if it's just a boy thing. And I was like, what can I spend my time on? Like, if you can, obviously, afford to have a cleaner, if you can get help, support wherever from your family, do the things, like prioritize, right? Like, what's going to give me that benefit? What's going to help the world in my sense? Is it going to be that there's refolding those tops, or is it just going to be able to do an extra bit of, I don't know, content that might resonate with someone and it gives them an exercise snack or something to do, right? It's a juggle. Yeah, I totally think it's difficult. And especially for me, it was easier because my boys were in school and my youngest was 11. So once they got into secondary, that's when I really started. And similar to when my mum started her like food passion. But I think with young kids, it's really hard. Like hopefully, as you know, in the South Asian community, we do have a lot of help from our families. It's tough. It's tough being a woman. You know, like everyone says you can have it all. It's really hard. I don't think you can have it all. You've got to just be prepared to give and take. And I drop the ball. You know, I forget things sometimes. And my husband and the kids will be like, God, Lavina, you know, the same thing. Like, why have you forgotten? What's going on? And you just have to put your hands up there. You can't really be perfect at everything.
Yeah.
So prioritize, you know, even if it's like 3 things out of the 100 things you've got to do in a day, just try and tick off little things, celebrate your wins on the journey. But it's hard. It's a juggle. That's all I can say.
I think asking for support is really important.
Yeah.
I used to be someone who used to think, I can just do it all myself.
Sign of weakness. I don't want to ask for help.
I don't want to ask for help. Yeah. I can do it all. No. I'm so perfect at this. I'm going to give. And actually that was the start of, you know, for me, that was like when I became really overwhelmed. My nervous system got dysregulated.
How much burnout, right?
Oh my God, I was literally burnt out. And then I just thought, you know what? I think sometimes as well in our culture especially, we're like living up to certain standards. Like I want to be a good daughter, I want to be a really good friend, a good wife, a good daughter-in-law, a good cousin, a good business owner. But you can't do everything.
You can't.
Without, and I remember when I got my cleaner, I just had like so much shame. I didn't tell anyone.
I'm telling everyone publicly on this podcast, Vigi, I love you. I can't live without her. She wants to stop because, you know, she's obviously been with me for a few years now and she wants to stop next year. And I was like, how am I going to coach? It's like, I'm going to get there, you know, my youngest son going to university. And I'm like, please stay. I mean, it is literally, I mean, I've never begged her, but I say to her, thank goodness I've got you, right?
Yeah. 100%.
And like, you know, meals, cooking dinner and stuff. Like, thanks to my mom's first book, it was quick after work, Indian vegetarian cookery. You know, I literally wing it. I'm not planning. I'm not doing the meal prep a lot of the time. I do my like online shop that saves me an hour and a half in the week.
Yeah.
And then I just go home and I've got like a bank of like quick, easy meals that I know the whole family will eat and I can just get out there in like 10, 15 minutes. I mean, obviously it takes a bit of planning in life, but you know what? I'm just enjoying the journey that I'm just using the energy. I feel energized. Like I feel, I feel like I've got enough strength at the moment. Who knows what's going to happen, you know, tomorrow. But while I've got it, I'm just like riding the wave. Let's go for it.
I love that so much. Oh my God, there's so many things that we could still continue to talk about. But one last question. What piece of advice would you give a female entrepreneur listening to this?
Oh, from everything we've said, it's like a summary, right? Of if you've got something that you really have a passion for, it could just be a little idea, a side hustle or something, even a hobby. And if you're not happy in whatever you're doing in life at the moment, really just focus your path, like really have that intention to just go for it. Know that it's never too late, that if I can do it, anyone listening can do it. Yes, it takes a lot of hard work, sometimes a lot of courage and late nights and a juggle. But yeah, when you truly find your passion and purpose in life, it's just the most fulfilling thing. So yeah, I hope that inspires women and at whatever age, right, to just go for it.
I love that, Lavina. And where can everyone find you?
Oh, you can find me everywhere. At Feel Good with Lavina. And especially on Instagram, you probably see like all my stories every day, even if it's just getting you to do a little feel good walk or whatever. I'm on LinkedIn, obviously, for any of the workplace wellness and the talks, Facebook, Talk, like I mentioned, like all social media. I have a website, feelgoodwithlavina.com. Please join my free workouts with my mother-in-law. There's hundreds saved on YouTube at Feel Good with Lavina. And that's up to the age of 100, seated, even people working from home, like seated strength exercises, stretch, mobility, balance, like anything you can do seated while you're on Zooms. That's what I go into companies to teach. But yeah, just please, if there's anything, that you can share or can help someone just improve their health, that would be amazing.
Thank you so much, Lavina.
Thank you for having me. It's been wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching this episode. Your support honestly means the world to me. And I will see you here next week, same place, same time.